Zonal Program Officer, he's actually going to run us through what is happening here in the data center. And Mr. Gabriel,
Yeah.
so I would like you to tell us what is the aim for this, data center setup?
Okay. And this data center is actually a form of maybe collecting information, right? Data, getting data from the observers in the field,
Yeah.
which we've trained.
Okay.
That's we trained over, and that's the pooling unit observers that we
Yeah.
trained. There are over 3,014. That's the
Okay.
exact number of pooling unit observers that we have. So we also have LGA observers, right? Which they serve as a roving observers. Those LGA observers, they are across the entire LGA, which is 774.
Okay.
And we also have state focal persons, right? That's a focal person that also serve as a roving observers on election day also, going from polling unit to polling unit, checking on their observers to make sure they are deployed and other things like that. So they are also in the states, right? Going around the polling unit. And those we have like 48 of them, right? That's across all the states. Some states are broken into two, some into three, depending on the size of the state and also the terrain and all those kind of things,
Yes.
right? So that's why we break them. Like state like Lagos, we have 3 SFPs there. That's the state focal persons. State like Kano, we have 3 SFPs, just like that's for the sake of the
Yes.
what do you call it, for order for them to cover the entire state. We also have rivers, we have 2,
Okay.
right? So we also have Meduguri, which is Borno. We also have 2 SFPs there.
Yes.
In Sosoko, in Anambra, we also have 2 SFPs there.
Yeah, so I can see this is the northwest.
Yeah, so now the way we position our table in order for the smooth flow at the data center,
Okay.
we have different regions. You can see this is northwest, right? Northwest zone. Behind all the laptops, you will see the states.
Yeah.
State that they are assigned to each data clerk, right? And
Yes.
all these data clerks, they've gone through a rigorous training on how to get information from the observers to ensure that they follow up and get all the data from the observers. Not just getting the data, also we have quality assurance to ensure that those data that they're getting from the observers, those data are genuine, right? And they are sending the correct information to the database. So this is the northeast zone. You can see over there we have Taraba, here we have Bauchi, right? We also have all the states in the northeast here, right? Which all data clerks are mounted on a system that they will use to.
This is south.
This is south. You can see we have Cross River, Delta, Elsa. So what is going on here is that they are calling these observers if there is any mistake or any information that the observer sent that is not clear. We've not heard from the observer, right? Like there's a particular time, our checklist is designed in the way that you'll be able to send information at a assigned time, right? For example, when you arrive at the polling unit, you're expecting you to send your first text message that you arrive by 7 a.m., right?
Yes.
By 7 a.m., that's when we are expecting you to send in your text message. So if you not send your message at 7 a.m., we will call you to know what is happening. Why didn't you send this message at that
Because
particular
I was
specific
even
time?
going to ask the question because I can see people answering calls, making calls. What is it really all about? Why are they making calls over here as well?
Okay. The cause actually is to follow up on the observers, like I mentioned earlier, right? Like I said, that if you are expected to send a message at a particular time or a period, and if you do not send that message, we will then call that observer to know why didn't you send the message. That's one. Number 2 is when the observer send in the message, some of the message coming in like incomplete, right? And when they are incomplete, definitely we have incomplete information.
Yes.
We need information that we can be able to that will be complete and will be correct.
Okay.
Right? Not just complete, to be correct also.
Yes.
So that's the reason why we call them when they have that incomplete text message, right? Then we
Yes.
call them to follow up to send in the correct text message by telling them, okay, you are missing A, B, C, D. You are missing this particular specific question, did not respond to it. So send in the correct information to the database.
So the observers over there, do they also have to, call in to report any kind of issue being incurred around that side?
Okay.
Different polling units.
If you like to work with me, we'll
Yes.
move to the next desk over there.
Okay.
So over there, you can see a desk there. It's called the critical incident desk.
Okay.
Right? This is a critical incident desk. And what do you mean by critical incident? We said anything that is shocking and frightening, right? That threaten the integrity of the election,
Okay.
right? It doesn't mean that there must be crisis there before you will report, consider it as critical incident or bodily harm to any observer or party agent or INEC officials or even what do you call them, voters themselves at the polling unit. But critical incident entails a lot of things, right? There are also when INEC do not even open the polling unit on time, that
And when they
definitely is
don't
going
get,
to affect it.
materials as well.
Thank you. If the materials are not even complete, it's a critical incident on its own. And also we have issues like maybe ballot box stuffing. We also have vote buying, right? Those are some of the issues that observers will encourage them to send us a critical incident. And when they send the critical incident, they send it in the coded text message, right? By sending those incidents in the coded text message, I would like to walk you through the checklist there, so that we can understand what it means by the coded text message. So again, if you look at here, these are our tools. We have two tools that the observers use in the field, right? The first one, we have the checklist here. The checklist here gives you all the information that the observer need, right? That all the questions are written here on the checklist, and then the observer will then respond to the questions accordingly, right? And when he responds to the question, he will then, after he finishes, he will then format it and send. So once you format and send, then we'll be able to receive the information here in the database, right? There are clear instructions here that highlight what and what observers should do, what step, at what time are you expected to send the text message, right?
So having shown us all this,
Sorry, please. This is the critical incident. So if you can look here, you have categories of critical incidents, right? And they are all cut across different issues that may likely occur at the polling unit. Even though we don't pray for critical incident, any incident to happen at the polling unit, but when it happens, we are there and ready to capture those data. And we also have others in case there is any incident that we didn't capture on our metrics, on our table here, right? They can be able to tick on the orders, and when we call them, we get the information. So once they send in this, we call them to get a further information, that kind of a detailed information that will give us an insight on what kind of incident. And all incident is not a generalized incident that you just report to us, because we want to be based on data, and also our information must be factual. Right? So as long as you send the critical incident to us, we also want you to give us the polling unit code, the location, the time that incident happened. That's when we work with the 5 W's and H, right? The who, what, when, where, and how, right? All those. So we work on them. Those are the follow-up questions that we call to get all those information, right? In every incident, there must be a victim and there must be a perpetrator, right? So those are the things that I want to know: who started the incident and who is affected, and so on.
So I can see a big screen over here with the data displayed on the screen, and I would like you to walk us through what is going on here right now on the screen. Would like you to explain what is going on in these different polls. Let's get what you.
Okay. This screen is a dashboard which illustrates all what our observers send to the database. As you can see, this screen is divided into geopolitical zone, right? You can see the first one is north central, second one is northeast, the third one is northwest, the fourth one is southeast, the fifth one here is south, and the sixth one is southwest, right? So, but we represent, our data are represented in colors, right? So these data that are represented in colors, you can be able to see over here, we have a red color. If you can see this pie chart, right? We have a red color there. That means that there are observers that we've not heard from them. And what does that red color mean? Red is not good, right? That means we are missing observers. Right? Observers that have not texted. Right? That may be related to some issues, maybe network issues or any other related issues. Right? So we also have the other color, which you see that is yellow. You can see a tiny yellow over there.
Yeah, I can see.
Right? That means an observer did not send us a complete text message. That means he's missing either one question, right? He's either missing a question or more. So based on that, then we'll be able to call that observer and then let him know that, okay, you're missing a particular question. Please give us more. What question are you missing? So correct it and send the correct information to the database. So now we have the big one, which is the blue. But before we go there, I would like to go to the black one. Right? The black one, it means conflict. That means we deploy 2 observers to the polling unit. right? Each
Yeah.
sample polling unit, that's per polling unit is 2 observers.
Okay.
So when I say that we deploy 3,014 observers
Yes.
to the polling unit, right? That means we sampled a number of polling units, right? And by sampling a number of polling units, what are we saying? We say that out of the entire polling unit in Nigeria, right, we use the statistical principles to select just a few out of them that represent the entire geographical location, right? The polling unit.
Yes.
So that's the reason why we do this sampling. And it is a proportion of the entire population, right? That have an equal representation of all.
Yes.
So that means a state like the state like Lagos, Kano, they are most likely to have more observers than state like Ekiti, Bayelsa, if you put the comparison together, right? Due to the number of polling units. The polling unit is our universe, right? So it's the polling unit that we use to conduct the sampling.
Okay.
Are we together?
Yeah, we're together.
Thank you. So now, if you go further, go back to the dashboard, you see the blue. That means observers have reported to the database.
Okay.
Right?
So in a situation
That blue looks
where-
good for us.
Oh, okay. So, but in a situation whereby the blue is a little bit not up to the other ones, what does it mean if the blue is not equal with the rest?
Okay, the blue is not equal to it. That means we've not gotten enough information. We've not heard from some observers, right?
Okay.
That means it's either showing red, it's either showing black, or it's either showing yellow. So what does yellow means? What does black means? Black means conflict.
Conflict.
Right?
Okay.
What we mean by conflict, we didn't mean that our observers are fighting at the polling unit. No, that's not what we mean. What we mean by conflict is that the observers, they are sending different information to the database. And once they are sending different information into the database, there's a problem because they are supposed to send the same thing. They are deployed to the same polling unit, and once they observe something, they're supposed to agree on it before sending it to the database, right? So when everybody is acting independently, we don't encourage that. They work as a team, they reach an agreement before they then respond to the questions and type it exactly to the database. So once we call them, they clarify these issues, they will resend the text message and effect the correction, and it will turn blue.
All right, thank you so much for putting us through this whole lot. Before I let you go, because I know you're busy, so before I let you go, I'd like to ask a question. As they are reporting to you, over here to the data center, do you have like a solution for whatever call or whatever reports you get from your observers in different polling units? So do you have like a solution for them when they call you to place all these complaints and all that?
Yes, because some of the observers, there are certain issues that they may face at the polling unit.
Okay.
You understand? There are certain issues the observer may encounter at the polling unit, and once the observer encounters that particular issue at the polling unit, he called us and relayed those complaints to us. Okay, for example, observer not allowed to observe.
Yes.
Right? So if I will take you back here,
Okay.
our checklist is designed in structures, right? In different structures. We have first section, we have second section, and they are all named accordingly. So each text message that is coming to the database is based on the particular section. So the first section we have is arrival. Arrival.
Yeah.
What does arrival means, right? Arrival is that and the observer arrive at the polling unit on whether he or she met polling officials,
Okay.
right? So that means we have 98% of our observers reported that they have arrived safely the polling unit, and INEC officials are the polling units.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you. So that means when they report this, it's either INEC officials have arrived or an INEC official have not arrived, which is yes or no. And they themselves did not arrive at that 7:30, which they are expected to send this text message at 7:30. That's the first text message supposed to
You
come at
have a time
7:30.
frame for them to
Yes.
send the time. Oh, okay.
The second one, we say that observation.
Yeah.
This one is seeking permission or are allowed to observe at the polling unit. So you can see that there's a 3% difference between the arrival and also the observation.
Okay.
What does that mean? Is that some observers arrive at the polling units quite okay. Whether the INEC officials are the polling unit or not, then they asked the INEC officials to whether to observe, whether they're here to observe, whether they're granted permission to observe the election. right? Or the INEC officials did not come. So that's the possibility. That's why you are seeing this difference here. Either they did not allow them to observe, or the INEC officials did not even come to the polling unit, right? So if they do not come to the polling unit, there's no way you can be able to answer this particular question of observation, whether you allow permitted to observe or not.
Yeah.
We move to the opening. In this part, we just want to know what time. Are we together?
Yes,
at what time did polling unit open? Right? So by knowing at what time polling unit open, is to know that the exact time that polling unit is open. And ideally, polling unit is supposed to open by 8:30.
Yes.
Right? By 8:30, we expected all polling units to be open. But some polling units may open less or not. So we have different questions that have an interval of time. Are we together? Like for example, if you say that 8:30, right?
Yes.
And 8:30, we have the one that will say that, okay, from 9:30 to 10:30, those are the intervals that we place. So if you check our questions and listening checklist, you'll be able to see how those time are divided into different intervals. We also have setup.
Okay.
Setup means that what are the information that INEC and information and materials that is at the polling unit, right? And that part, in this particular section, we are expecting observers to also text us the polling unit code, to also check the materials that they are on ground, right? That's the process. The vital materials, those are the ones we highlight. We do not highlight all the materials on our checklist, or else our checklist will be like textbook, taking it to the polling unit, right? So to make it easy, we just selected the important materials I expected to see at the polling unit, right? Like the ballot paper, the ballot box, and also a voting cubicle, indelible ink, and other things. Are we together?
Yeah, so the next one is
voting. So before you send the setup, you must wait till voting commence before you will then send the setup. Right?
Yes.
Right. So now you move to the voting. Voting, before you send any information about the voting, which is the process.
Okay.
And all these data that I'm giving you, they are all about the process. Right? Before you send in any information about voting, you must wait till voting ends.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Till accounting commence.
Yes.
That's at 2:30. If there is nobody on the queue, right? They are expected to say that they are polling officials. They are expected to come and say that, okay, as of this time, it's now 2:30,
Okay.
right? And there's nobody on the queue. Now we are closing accreditation and voting.
Yes.
Right? Then they will move into the next phase of counting. But if there are still people on the queue as of 2:30, then all those people should be given opportunity to cast their vote. That means the presiding officer will say that either a security agent or one of the assistant presiding officer to go to the back of the last person on the queue and stand behind him until the last person before the other security or the assistant presiding officer cast his vote. That will be when they will say that, okay, accreditation and voting has ended.
So I have a question before we move into the next zone. You know, you explained the last slide. You explained about the different colors and what it signifies.
Yeah.
So in this situation, do we have to say the same explanation as well for this same situation? As we have the voting, we have 40% of blue and we have 49% of red. So is it the same, explanation, or what happens in the other slide you just explained to us?
Yeah. So it's the same thing because blue, like I said, it still remains the same meaning. It has the same meaning, which is complete. That means observer sending a complete information.
Okay.
Which yellow, it means the observer is missing one or two information in his text message, right? Red, we've not heard from the observer yet. While black, that means there's a conflict. That means two of them, they are sending two different conflicting data to the database, right? So now, by looking at this, you'll be able to understand something, right? You'll be able to give you an idea on how they by just looking at the pie chart. That means, if we said arrival, we have 98, we have observation, 95, we have opening, 96, and then here we have setup, 83. That means there are some people at this point of opening, they did not set up. That means they did not even open the polling unit did not properly open. Either they are trying to open something, disrupt the process or something like that.
Yes.
Are we together? So that's the reason why you will not see this one complete. Or some observers at that point where they sent opening, right? Accreditation and voting open at so time. And the operator wants to open at also time. Then when it comes to setup, we cannot be able to reach them. Whether they cannot be able to send in their message, or maybe their phones run down, or maybe they have network issues or stuff like that.
Yes.
That's why we will not be able to hear from them, right? While when you come to voting, when you see voting is looking like this, and what's the time now? I believe by Nigerian time we are
This
like
is
15.
55 minutes past 3. This
Yes, that's
before.
15:55, right?
Yes.
15:55, right? So that means it's telling you that by this special you'll be able to have an kind of an idea of what happened in the polling unit across the nation by saying that means most of the polling units did not open on time. That's why voting have not ended up to now. That's why we cannot be able to get this data.
Okay.
Sure, you understand?
I get
So
it.
by looking at this, you will really have the sense that, okay, that means that voting did not commence on time. Because if voting should commence by 8 a.m., right, and then accreditation and voting will commence by 8 a.m., then people will be able to give them chance to cast their vote, accredited and cast their vote, right? So that means voting is expected to finish a little bit earlier, right? But the fact that you're seeing it like this, you know that voting did not start on time.
Okay.
That means there's a lot of delay.
Now I get it. So you were about to explain counting before I asked, the question. Or have you explained the counting?
Yeah, counting is just that's the process where they will try to sort, arrange ballot box according to piles, show that people that okay, this ballot box is sealed, we did not open it, nobody put anything inside. The way we kept it, that's how we pick it. And now we want to empty it and start sorting things out. They will bring out everything to sort them out, arrange everything, and that's all. That's about the counting, the information we try to get from the counting. Okay. But if you look at the accounting aspect of it, after they finish recording of the results and other things, right? Yeah. You kind of see they're kind of putting all those things in order, trying to arrange, trying to count, okay, number of spoiled, number of all those things, put them all together, right? Number of registered voters, number of ballot paper issued, right? Number of ballot paper issued, also number of registered voters, number of accredited voters, and so on. So that's when you have in the accounting. While the results here is to do the pure record of the result from the polling unit, scored by each political party.
Okay.
Right? That's the exact way they will then text it. Right? Then the other one is when they come to the issue of signing. Each political party, they are supposed to sign their result form, the Form EC8A. They are supposed to sign. So at this point of signing, they also give them a copy after they finish the signing. Right? They will give them a duplicate copy of the result sheet so that they can have an evidence. By law, the political party agents, they are to be given this. Also, what they call them, also their securities, right? They are meant to be given the the duplicates of the result form, so that they will take it as evidence and take it to their political parties as well.
Well, you have done justice to explaining and analyzing all this, and right now I am fully convinced why this whole place is like this. And guys, you can actually see what is going on here. You can hear people making in calls. So the data center is just very busy. People are making in calls and doing their thing. And of course, that's why we are here to give you a coverage and also to show you what is happening behind the scenes of the WTV data center. Do not go anywhere. It is Yaga TV. I'm Hamilton Adams.